Hi, everyone. I have a special announcement to make. As you know, the mission of our podcast is to affirm, inspire, and motivate HOA board members. One way we hope to do that is with the launch of our new board member merch store. As a gift to boards who are meeting online, we're offering dozens of free and fun Zoom backgrounds designed specifically with you in mind. We've provided a link to the new store in our show notes. Please check it out.
You know, all of the prices for everything has gone up. I mean, property taxes are going up, insurance is going up, utilities are up. It's just hard to stay ahead of all that stuff because it's gone so costly since COVID. They need to be able to present to the association that we need to raise our dues to cover these expenses.
HOA Insights, common sense for common areas, exists to help all 2 million volunteer board members nationwide have the right information at the right time to make the right decisions for their future. This podcast is sponsored by 4 companies that care about board members: Association Insights and Marketplace, Association Reserves, Community Financials, and Kevin Davis Insurance Services. You'll find links to their websites and social media in the show notes.
Thankless job. What comes to your mind when you hear those 2 words? Having served on the board of my condominium association for several years, followed by decades of experience in this industry, there's one job that, without a doubt, deserves to be at the top of the list: an elected volunteer HOA board member. So as a regular feature of our weekly podcast is one episode a month devoted to sharing the stories of real-life unsung board heroes. In our eyes, a board hero is one of the 2 million elected volunteers who are worthy of recognition for simply performing a thankless job well. If you match our definition of a board hero or know someone who does, please reach out to us. Our contact details are provided in the show notes. Well, welcome back to HOA Insights, Common Sense for Common Areas. I'm Robert Nordlund, and I'm here to share the story of an unsung board hero named Paul Danielson. If you missed meeting any of our other board heroes, you can find them easily on our website, hoainsights.org, on our YouTube channel, or by subscribing to HOA Insights on your favorite podcast platform. But before you hear Paul's story, let me introduce you to one of our sponsors.
Is your HOA or condo self-managed and you don't want to work as hard volunteering? Are you full managed and looking to save money? Or are you looking to split the accounting from a manager's role for better service? Let Community Financials handle the monthly accounting for you. We collect dues, pay bills, produce financial reports, include portals, and help with other support services, all while providing awesome service. We'd love the opportunity to help you make your community accounting stress-free with our industry-leading systems and expert team. Visit our website, communityfinancials.com, to learn more.
My name is Paul, and I have served as a volunteer on the board of Cienega Seabreeze Incorporated for 2 years. When I am not wearing my board member hat, I am traveling, maintaining, and operating the grounds of our complex. 3 words I would use to describe the job: a democracy, fairness, and diplomacy. The main story I'd like to tell is I believe in the democratic process and do not go into any meetings with an agenda.
Cienega Seabreeze is a 55 and older mobile home community just outside Pismo Beach, California. As you just heard, Paul served on the board of Cienega Seabreeze for 2 years, holding the position of board president. The property is about 50 years old, with its own streets, clubhouse, and pool, and is 100% owner-occupied. Now, while it's not unusual for a mobile home community to be governed by a homeowners association, the parks they're situated in often have a private owner. We asked Paul to tell us more about the history of Cienega Seabreeze and how the community came to be governed by an HOA.
The park was built and started construction in 1977, was completed in 1978. It was originally a privately owned park. However, when it was fully rented, the residents that made an agreement with the 2 guys that owned it that if they decided to sell, they would have the first right of refusal. And that's how it became owned by the residents.
The board of directors at Cienega Seabreeze comprises 7 total board seats, which includes Paul's current position as member at large. We decided to ask Paul if the board had term limits. Here's what he had to say.
You didn't have a term limit. You could act as president, vice president, or whatever for a long period of time if you were reelected. So there was no, you're not going to serve for 2 years and then you're off, or 4 years and then you're out. You could continue to serve. There were no term limits.
As many of our listeners know, the ease of getting elected to the board can vary wildly from association to association. Some board members are determined to hold on to their seat, and others are constantly searching for someone to replace them. And some boards even face a lot of difficulty filling up all their board seats. For this reason, we asked Paul if it was easy to get elected to the board at Cienega Seabreeze, as well as for more details on their election process.
Oh, it was very easy. You kind of put your name in a hat, you signed up for it. You do a little statement of, a little bio, and then they have a vote. They actually have a ballot, and you write down the names of the people you want to serve. That's when the incoming board, then you get together and sit down and talk who's going to do what, who's going to be president, vice president, who's going to be in charge of the RV, who's going to be secretary, treasurer, that sort of thing. So you agree to run for the board, and then the board decides what position you're going to be in. And it's kind of a split vote. You have 3 members you're voting for this year and 4 members next year.
We asked Paul what first motivated him to join the board of directors, as well as what was motivating him to stay involved with the association.
My previous experience before we moved there, farming and maintaining a farm and working in management, different things. And so I could see that my skill set was really needed there. And so that's what made me volunteer to do things. I'd seen things that weren't done correctly, and I could correct them and move forward. I had some help. I had someone that would take care of all the technical, the Zoom meetings and all of that sort of thing. And another person that would take care of all of the typing, memos going out, that sort of thing. So I could conduct meetings, and all of those side things were taken care of for me.
We next asked Paul what his favorite and least favorite parts of serving on the board were.
The least was probably notifying residents that they had a deficiency. That was my least. The favorite, conducting meetings. I was conducting the meeting. I could make it short and sweet, get all of the points that wanted to be made, and then get on down, get over with it. I could conduct very short, very quick meetings, very productive. That was mostly successful on my part because we could take care of everything that we needed to take care of. Now, sometimes the meetings go 2.5 hours because they can't agree on anything. And that really is trying, and it's very disappointing.
It was refreshing to hear that Paul, like several of the board heroes we featured in prior episodes, has enjoyed the meetings that he conducts at the association. However, as we just heard, the meetings seem to be taking a lot longer and aren't as productive compared to when Paul was leading them. This prompted us to ask how board meetings are conducted at Cienega Seabreeze, Inc., especially since post-COVID, many boards have adopted an entirely virtual model for their meetings. Here's what Paul had to say.
Now it's held in our clubhouse. It's all attended publicly. However, we do also offer a Zoom link because we have absentee owners, so they can actually go on the meeting via Zoom.
In a previous answer, Paul appeared to have some reservations about how the board at Cienega Seabreeze is currently operating. So we decided to ask him if he thought the association was well run.
I don't think it is well run right now. I think there's too many agendas. Unfortunately, I think some board members that are on the current board have an agenda that they would like to pursue. And I don't think in a democratic society, that is something that should be addressed. Just because you have your own opinion doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be adopted. You can present all of your thoughts and then it's voted on. And sometimes you get your way and sometimes you do not.
It's certainly unfortunate whenever the ideas and agenda of a single board member disrupts the democratic process of the entire board. We then asked Paul if there was any particular project that Cienega Seabreeze board had agreed to focus on.
Redoing the rules and regulations, I think that needs to be done, and I think they're doing that well. To give you a little insight, the park, since it's owner-occupied, we maintain the park. We hire a landscaper, and we hire someone to do the pool, and we hire an accountant for once a year, quarterly, that sort of thing. So all of the maintenance in the park, or all of the operation, is done by volunteers. Well, the term volunteer means it's something you're volunteering for. You're not required to do that. They're trying to change the language in the rules and regulations that say that that's not a volunteer. You must participate in maintaining and operating the park. That's what keeps our operating expenses low, because we don't hire a lot of outside labor. They're trying to change that word volunteer to something else. Now, I don't know how successful they will be, but that's what they are attempting to do.
As someone who regularly visits communities to provide reserve studies and funding recommendations, I was very interested in asking Paul if he felt the association was well funded. Here's what he had to say.
Oh, yes. There is a board that is elected or appointed that works with the reserve study chairman, and he works closely with the reserve study company, and we all get together and go over everything, and it's pretty effective. I have some responsibility to make sure that everything is kept up running and in good shape. You couldn't get there if you didn't have those funds. So let's make sure we keep those funds there and used wisely.
It certainly made me happy to hear that Paul's association was dutifully following their reserve study recommendations. However, even when their association is well-funded, board members can face numerous challenges during their tenure, such as having to spend their free time to maintain the property or even mediating a disagreement between board members and residents. We asked Paul what the biggest challenge was he faced as a board member.
In the maintenance of the park, maintaining the park's equipment. That was most challenging and most rewarding both. I was looking for someone that was qualified to do that sort of thing, and no one in the park was qualified to do what I was doing. So I felt comfortable doing it myself.
Keeping in mind that Paul is now acting in a far more limited capacity on the board, we asked him what he felt was the biggest impact that he left on the community.
That I could maintain the entire integrity of the park, and I had good communication skills with other members in the park that had skill sets that were not following my skill set, and I could get everyone to work together on it. I still can get the people who have the skill sets, and I can give you a perfect example. We have a flood control area to the back of our park, which is, we have some pumps and that sort of thing. If we have difficulties back there, we have people in the park who are retired electricians, union electricians, so I can get the electrical work covered. We've got some mechanical people who understand pumps and that sort of thing. So we can get all of that stuff up and running and in being maintained properly so that we don't have a problem. And even though I'm not necessarily on the board, I can get that all together.
While Paul voiced some critiques about how the association is run, it was clear that he felt that the board was doing a pretty good job overall. We asked him for one piece of constructive feedback that the board at Cienega Seabreeze could implement in the future.
If the association's property is damaged, I think the person that damages it or the entity is responsible for it and needs to make whatever amends to correct the damage. Let's say they run over a light pole or they run over a mailbox. They should be responsible. They should fix the light or fix the mailbox. That doesn't always happen.
As we got closer to the end of our interview with Paul, we decided to ask if there were any external factors or events occurring in the world that were dominating the conversations during board meetings. Here's Paul's response.
Cost of living, all of the prices for everything has gone up. I mean, property taxes are going up, insurance is going up, utilities are up. So it's tough to figure that fees that are going to change. We've done a number of energy saving events. I mean, we put in a cool heater and we put in LED lights and that sort of thing. It's just hard to stay ahead of all that stuff because it's gone so costly since COVID. We need to look at cost of living, built-in cost of living raises in our dues. They need to be able to present to the association that we need to raise our dues to cover these expenses.
Finally, while we often ask our board heroes to share some advice to the board members watching or listening to this program, we decided to give Paul the opportunity to share a single piece of advice that he would like to impart to the board at Cienega Seabreeze.
Try to rework that volunteerism. Think about the people who live there. They're trying to get everybody involved, but in one sense, we've got 70 residents who have looked to retire and are wanting to live in paradise from now on. And now they're trying to get the 70 residents who want to be retired and live in paradise to be fully involved in the operation and maintenance of the park. And that's just not in their forte. That's where I was saying people have agendas. They need to put that agenda aside and think about what everyone's trying to do.
We want to publicly acknowledge Paul for performing a thankless job well. We hope you gain some HOA insights from Paul's story and that it helps you bring common sense to your common area. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to another great episode next week. And remember, if you match our definition of a board hero or know someone who does, please reach out to us. Our contact details are provided in the show notes.
You've been listening to HOA Insights, Common Sense for Common Areas. You can listen to the show on our podcast website, hoainsights.org, or subscribe on any of the most popular podcast platforms. You can also watch the show on our YouTube channel. Check the show notes for helpful links. If you like the show and want to support the work we do, you can do so in a number of ways. The most important thing that you can do is engage in the conversation. Leave a question in the comment section on our YouTube videos. You can also email your questions or voice memos to podcast@reservestudy.com or leave us a voicemail at 805-203-3130. If you gain any insights from the show, please do us a huge favor by sharing the show with other board members that you know. You can also support us by supporting the brands that support this program. Please remember that the views and opinions expressed by the podcast do not constitute legal advice. You'll want to consult your own legal counsel before making any important decisions. Finally, this podcast was expertly mixed and mastered by Stokelight Video and Marketing. With Stokelight on your team, you'll reach more customers with marketing expertise that inspires action. See the show notes to connect with Stokelight.